if you have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, you've got to start paying attention to your other body parts. The number of cases of hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's is just going up year after year. There's like 30% increase. And somebody needs to ask why. What's changing in our environment? It's not genetics. You may have the genes, sure, but what turned those genes on?
It might not just be the genes, it's the fact that they also ate the same things or also exposed to the same factory. You can't control the genes, but you can control the plus. And if you can control the plus, you can break that trend.
Our environment and lifestyle that have more power than our genes.
You're a smart, educated human who wants more from healthcare. And this is the Medical Disruptor, the show where MDs, NPs, PAs, and researchers tell us how they broke the rules because they couldn't find answers in the system that they came from. My guests are all science-trained innovators who choose the truth over tradition. Real talk, real science, no gaslighting. I'm Dr. E, the NP with a PhD, and I'm committed to making sure you never experience medical gaslighting again. Because when you've been told the same story long enough, you start to believe it. This show is here to help you challenge your own medical beliefs, especially the ones that were never really yours to begin with. Today's guest is a different kind of disruptor. Divya Gupta isn't your typical disruptor. She didn't start in medicine. She started in Silicon Valley. Ivy League trained, crushing it in corporate, doing everything right until her body and her mom's illness forced her to ask different questions. She didn't have a medical degree, but she had something just as powerful: discipline, logic, and an unwillingness to accept suffering as her fate. In this episode, we talk about how she reversed her own health decline, left behind a super lucrative career, and now helps other women break the cycle of intergenerational illnesses by getting to the root. We cover gallbladder myths, thyroid dysfunction, Hashimoto's, the missing link between your bile and your hormone, and how curiosity, not just credentials, is sometimes the real medicine. So let's dive in. Divya, it's so good to have you here.
Dr. E, I'm so excited to have this conversation, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. So you're not one of our more traditional medical disruptors. You're a different kind of disruptor. You're a disruptor, first of all, in your life, and you're going to tell us about how you left a lucrative career to become someone that the universe needs. And but you also have a pretty disruptive concept that I have not heard of yet. So we're going to get to that also. Everyone really focuses on the body and the systems, but you're going to talk about intergenerationality. Not sure if that's a word. It is now. We just
made one up.
All right. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you were before you decided to come over to the dark side.
Or the bright side. Oh, yeah. I'm a stereotypical Indian immigrant. So we're either doctors, lawyers, or engineers, right? So, I went the engineering route because that's what, again, followed what my older sister was doing. Everyone in my family engineers. So I did that. And I came to the US 21 years ago to do my master's. And from there, I went on to work in corporate America. I worked in corporate America for 16 plus years, top 4 consulting firm. Actually, I lived in New York City for 8 years. I know you're from Staten Island as well. So I've spent a decent amount of time there, and then moved to the Bay Area, worked in Silicon Valley. And it's like a total 180. Like my parents spent a lot of money on my education, sending me to an Ivy League school year. But again, for most of us in this space, a lot of us, I think it started with our own health journey. So when I was 21, I remember 2003, I was still in India. I'll just cut the story short, but I had my gallbladder removed because out of nowhere, seemingly, as far as I know, healthy, 20-something, I was, studying for my engineering. I was in my final year, like really focused on that. The gallbladder stone attack started, like out of nowhere. Again, maybe there were symptoms. I just didn't know that those were symptoms, or you had to look for. Sure. And that pain just over the course of a few weeks just got intense. And, I just been through childbirth like 4 months ago. I would still take that childbirth over that gallbladder attack.
Okay, thanks for putting it into perspective for those of us who have not had a gallbladder attack. It's worse than childbirth.
Yes, it is intense, and at least at the childbirth, you have a child at the end of it.
Yeah, this is nothing. You don't even get a stone at the end of it. You get nothing.
Yeah, I was given a little, here's the stone when they took it. I was like, oh, that tiny little thing that caused so much pain.
Let me raise it now. Okay.
Right. But for me at that point, we didn't know what's going on, going to doctors. Eventually, figured it out. Oh, it's gallstones. And what was the solution given by the endocrinologist? Oh, we can take it out because you can live with
The
that.
body parts, as many body parts as you can.
Honestly, at that point, again, I was doing engineering. I didn't know, like, I know it's a gallbladder, the part of the body, but what it does, its
How
function.
would you know?
I'm like, sure, get me out of this pain now, right? And I want to think maybe that was the right path for me because it was so far gone, but maybe that was the only option. I don't know. I don't have.
No, that's a really good point that you bring up, and it's important that we take a moment here because there are times when there's no question, and especially if the patient already has fever and there's infection, there's no question it has to be removed.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to surface that, generally speaking, we remove gallbladders as soon as they start having issues, like as a preventive measure, as opposed to having the conversation, which I'm sure we'll get to, of how we could actually avoid having our body parts removed. So that's a good distinction. And you, looking back, may not have the tools to know where you were at that point. Yeah.
It was like towards the end, I was just throwing up and I had to be rushed to an ER. So maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe it was too far gone. It was caught too late. But you bring up a great point. I was looking at stats. I was just curious. In the US alone, at least by CDC, 2021 and 2022, 600,000 gallbladder removal surgeries are performed. And I just don't know how many of them are necessary, like absolutely it's life-saving, and how many of those gallbladders could be saved because they do have a role to play. They're not just hanging out there.
Of course. I mean, I think we could just take a look at how many of those were scheduled a week ahead. And we know those are not emergency if they're scheduled, right? They're not from the ER.
Right.
Yeah.
Mine, I had scheduled mine because I had my exams going, I want to do it after, but I had to be rushed.
Right.
So it was taken out, all good, I was 20, 21, and, your body recovers, bounces back. And I was studying to give my GMATs. I came here to do my master's. Again, it's all retrospect. I had some IBS-related symptoms, but I wasn't an Ivy League school. I was, it's a 19-month.
You're stressed out.
New environment, new foods, everything different. And then few years, around 24, 25, again, this is 2 decades ago. I'm quite much older now. 2 decades ago, I happened to go to my OBGYN and she happened to feel my thyroid. I don't know who does that anymore. No doctor touches you. I could just feel you. And she's like, it seems inflamed. She referred
the good ones still touch.
The good ones still touch and feel, right? I think that's a good sign if anybody have a doctor. If they're not feeling you, you may want to get another one. And I will go to an endocrinologist and they run some blood tests. Oh, you have Hashimoto's. Here is synthroid. Off you go. And I was like, I was so young, Dr. E. I'm like, okay.
Of course, the doctor knows best.
Doctor knows best. And I didn't know how to advocate for myself or what questions.
Why would you think you even need to advocate, right? You're like, I have this thing and here's the medicine and off you go. It's not even a question. It's like when someone fixes your car, you're like, okay, I guess I need a carburetor. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
I still don't know what it is.
I still don't know what it is. Do we even have those still? I'm not even sure.
Not if you have an electric, I guess.
Oh, there we go. Okay. See, you know more than me. Okay.
So, and I remember her saying, oh, it runs in your family, but she got some history. My mom also had a gallbladder removed. Again, she didn't have active stones. I don't know why they took it out. One of the cases you could have avoided. She also has Hashimoto's. Oh, it runs in your family. So that's about it. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. I go on. And even prior to that, it makes sense now because the medication did help me. Because for a lot of people, the medications didn't work, right? For me, I remember my antibodies were in 4,000s. I was looking at my records. And my biggest symptom was muscle ache.
Okay.
Like I was a young 20-something and I was like, sleep for 10 hours. I'm tired. My muscles are always aching. My neck would always be hurting. I went to a doctor and she's like, you're too young. Leave my out. She literally said that. It's in your head. Leave. And I'm like, maybe it is in my head. Maybe it is in my head. Maybe you're questioning yourself, right?
I'm sorry. I'm known as an interrupter, so I'm sorry, but you're
No. Please go ahead.
You're bringing up really good points, and I'm writing my second book, and I'm literally on this chapter right now. And the problem isn't the gaslighting. The problem is that you start gaslighting yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're like, well, they have to be right. I have to complete. You don't feel well, and you go to the doctor to get help, and they tell you you're too young, get out of here. And so you go home and you second guess yourself, right? Like the danger is not them gaslighting you. The danger is when you gaslight yourself. Like that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I should work harder. Maybe I should just
Stop
suck it up,
complaining.
stop complaining. I said I work in corporate America, so hours were long. So maybe it's just I'm working too much. So I just do what the doctor said and stop complaining. And I get this diagnosis. You've got a relief. Okay, maybe this will help, and the medication tend to help a bit. But it was after that I'm like, something seems wrong with them. Around the same time, as everyone listening, if you have one autoimmune condition, you're 3 times likely to get another one.
Of course, and we know why.
Yeah,
It would never stop for the root cause.
Yeah, you don't know the root cause. Could be one or several root causes, right? It's never just one. My mom got diagnosed with her second autoimmune condition of rheumatoid arthritis.
Of course.
And I watched it, I had the front seat to that. It was painful to watch her in so much pain and, on steroids, and, you can't do your daily chores. That was the turning point. I'm like, I don't want to walk that path, and I don't want to take that to be my future. I refused. I'm like, she's a wonderful woman. I want to be like her when I grow up, but not in this regard. So that's when I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I control? So the very natural path for me was like, okay, food is something I can control, that I have agency over what I choose to put on my plate and what I eat. So I started there, and this was long before YouTube and Instagram or Facebook, where people were talking about gut health, about microbiome. So I'm like, whatever I could get my hands on, some books, like how, buy books actually and read. Okay, I was traveling a lot. So, okay, I'm going to stop eating those bagels and cream cheese, get gluten and dairy out for a week or two to see how it feels. And I'm like, for the first time, I realized I used to be bloated all the time when I took those things out.
It's so crazy, right? Because we all start our day with bagels. I used to eat like 2 a day. I used to work in the emergency room and just put like a cinnamon raisin bagel in my pocket and just eat it throughout the day. Like that was food.
I don't know. You should do a talk on like the food served in the hospitals still.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a change now, but still, they're still giving out Jell-O.
I had to be at the hospital a couple of times. I got the flu right before I was going to give birth, so they kept me there. I still got Jell-O. I took pictures of Cheerios. I'm like, I'm not eating these foods. I'm sorry. Anyhow, so that's how my journey started. And I never in a million years thought I would like switch careers, because, I'm living the American dream.
Right.
Working in corporate America, I'm making 6 figures, the whole white picket fence, everything. But the human body just fascinated me. I'm like, okay, if just making these small changes, that was a result, what else could I do?
Yeah.
What else can I change? So I just went down the rabbit hole of figuring it out. And I'm a very disciplined person. Like that's one of the people, if you ask somebody like Divya is the most disciplined person you'll meet. If I need to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fit it into my habit stack. So it was just making small changes over time. And again, it sounds like it happened overnight. It didn't.
No, it never happens overnight. Nothing happens overnight.
Nothing. It took time and effort. I started making changes. I'm like, I felt good, diet changes, some lifestyle.
Ask you a question. This is an important point for our audience. So during this time that you're making these changes, because you're doing something rather, for our audience now, let me just get my thoughts right. For our audience now, all that you're saying is duh, right? They're a savvy audience. They've listened to 1,000 podcasts like mine. And all you're saying is that you changed your food and felt better. And it's like, yeah, where you been, right? But first I want to surface this. This was a while ago, pre-internet, because that's when I had my moment also with my wife. So it's pre-internet. So you have to kind of imagine, like my audience, I need you to imagine like there is no Instagram. There's not, like, you're figuring this out on your own. And when you're doing that, I really want to surface that there was 2 really bold things that you did. First, and I know you're going to talk about it, is this decision that you are not going down your mom's path. And that's a really important decision, because so many of my patients, they're like, well, everyone in my family is diabetic. And I'm like, yeah, and right. So a lot of people just feel like, well, it is what it is. So first is like this idea, this bold, courageous idea that without knowledge, without knowing, without understanding, you had this innate sense, I'm not going down this path. Even though, as far as you know at that moment, it's genetic. And so something inside of you said, I don't know. I'm challenging that. The second thing is you're trying some crazy diets. And I imagine that if you ran it by any medical provider at the time, they rolled their eyes. So I want to ask you, did that happen? Did you run it by anyone, or you were just like, and I'm not asking any more questions? Okay, here's a commercial break that's not really a commercial break because I'm not selling anything. I made you a free guide that will show you exactly how to track patterns, document symptoms, and get taken seriously. I called it Build a Case, the skills you already use everywhere else, but now you're going to use them here. Click the link in the description to get your copy. Now back to the show.
I'm not asking, I didn't know that I could ask those questions. Honestly, you just go to the doctor's office, they spend 10 minutes, they give you a prescription, off you go.
What emboldened you to have those two questions? Like, one, I don't know what I don't know, but I'm not going to go down this road of rheumatoid arthritis. I have no idea anything about medicine. And two, I'm just going to try this diet out. Like, what made you think it's going to work?
No, that's a good point for everyone. Yeah, this was 20 years. That's why I say I'm 42. This was when I was 25, 26. So this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Pre all of this. Just watching, having a front row seat to seeing your own parents suffer.
Yeah, but if you think it's genetic, right? If you're like, it's genetic, why would you think you could alter it? Where did that come from?
I honestly, it's a great question. I wish I had a journal written down of why, but something innate in me just said, I don't have to go down that path. Can I do something now? Because I'm young enough to make different choices, to say, maybe I can avoid it. Maybe I won't be able to.
Where did you get the idea that it would be gluten and dairy? Like, where'd that come from?
I was reading, I came across, when you're ready, the teacher appears.
I'll say it again.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that's what happened to me. It's happened so many times in my life. During that time when I was like trying to figure out what should I do, like gluten and dairy, why those two food groups? Because those were so innate part of my culture, and the food that I ate, like milk is good. Like every day in the morning, I had to gulp down a glass of milk.
So good for you.
And Indian rotis that we used to eat that every single day. So that's so innate. I came across I know she's a now world-renowned nutritionist, Kimberly Snyder. At that point, she was one of, I think, the few, like she had a book that just, I was at Whole Foods, like, I'm going to shop, get my own food when I was traveling. Her book was right sitting in front of me. I'm like, I'm going to pick this up. She's a vegan. Again, the whole another story, but I just picked up a book and started reading about it. And she's like gluten and dairy free. She talks about the inflammation that it can cause. So I'm like, it doesn't hurt to try. I'm like, I'll try it. If I don't feel anything, I can go back to eating the way I did. So that's how I got introduced to. Nobody's ever asked me that. That's a good question, because I even emailed Kimberly. I'm like, you are the reason I am where I am today, because
that is so good.
I wouldn't have thought of trying those two foods. And yes, that was the time, Dr. E, the whole juice diet started coming out.
Oh yeah.
So I tried a juice diet for a week, and as somebody who has thyroid, you don't want to stress your thyroid by starving, but it was a good, like, fast, like, break.
Yeah.
I just felt the energy over here in your gut. Like, I just felt lighter around it. I'm like, wow, I want to feel like this all the time.
And you also said one other thing. I'm sorry, I told you I'm running into.
No, please, no. I love your insights.
You also said something, because you're so used to your own story that you don't hear your pearls. So I want you to know how good you are and how great storyteller you are. Like you were like, I picked up this book and I'll give it a try. And I remember that moment with my wife. She was very, very sick, and someone told her to do this, and I was like, I'll give it a try. It's not going to work, but I'll give it a try. But you have nothing to lose by changing your nutrition.
Right.
There's no side effects to broccoli. I mean, maybe some gas, but like, there's no side effect, right? Like you're going to be fine. Like, just try it. Like, what do you have to lose to try for 2 weeks? And like, that's so great. So you tried it and you started feeling great. Back to you.
Yeah. And did I take it out forever at that point? Because I was just experimenting. So, and I was traveling. I didn't understand the reason fully why and the thyroid at that point. So I did the juice diet. It felt good. I'm like, okay, maybe once a month I'm going to be doing that. Okay, I'm going to start working out a bit more. Again, I was traveling every week at that point. I was with a consulting firm. So again, I said, when I picked up Kimberly's book and I started reading about it, then I started listening to her. She was one of the early ones podcast. I would submit my questions to her. She would take aim. I would be like, start taking my questions. And I just got fascinated with the human body. I'm like, I want to learn more. I want to go in. And I'm like, and then never in a million years, I thought I could switch careers, right? Why would I? My dad spent, God rest his soul, a lot of money on my education.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but my parents have been very supportive. So, but again, when I'm ready, when the universe want, when you're ready, it appears. I get an email from a friend who was in a corporate career, but she went down doing this nutritionist consultant certificate, again, all long distance. I'm like, oh, I could do that because I want to get better for me and for my family. I had a young baby at that point. I'm like, let's try it.
Yeah.
And it didn't, you would think as a young mom and a full-time job and taking this course would be a lot, but this didn't feel like work and it just, I was like, wow, finally I'm trying to getting to understand the role nutrition plays and how important it is and different aspects, right? Nutrition is one thing, your digestion, your absorption, all those play a role. And that's how I got to where I am. That was just step one. It took some time to be stupid enough or have the courage enough to, okay, I'm going to quit my job.
No, I love this. Before you tell me where you're now, like as as a coach and all that, as you're speaking, something really big is coming from me, because in my book, I'm talking about, you're almost the antithesis of what happens to most women.
Mhm.
And it's perhaps because you never sought validation. But what I'm hearing from you is smart, very well-educated woman, and you took the skills that you learned in a completely different industry, variables, experimentation, tracking, logging. You said I'm a very, what was it?
Disciplined.
Was it?
I'm very disciplined.
You're very disciplined. You took the discipline from your silicon world and you applied it. And you're like, this worked, this didn't work. And you came up with something and you trusted your body and you trusted your results of your experimentation of an N of 1. And you trusted it and you continued it. And what I've discovered among most of us, the thing that I advocate the most and when I speak on stages is about most of us actually lose that. We're amazing lawyers, doctors, Silicon Valley, PTA moms. We're amazing everywhere. We know how to advocate, experiment, do variables. And then we go into the exam room and we're just like, I don't know. Oh, it doesn't, like your experience at age 20. And to hear you do this and listen to your inner voice and let it carry you to the point of leaving your career, it's big. I don't know if you congratulate yourself enough, but it's big. It's really big because most of us go into the exam room and then like, well, I guess I'm wrong. Like all you need is one person in a white coat say to you, gluten, that's nonsense. You don't have celiac. That can't be the case. And then you go home, you're like, all right, I guess it's not the case. So you really are an outlier in this case.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Like, when you listen to your own story, I'm like, I haven't done anything groundbreaking. I don't know what.
You did something groundbreaking for first and foremost for yourself. And you were willing to risk it all. And it takes one person to start a movement. It's really important. It's really important to do that. And now you're spreading the message to other women, like just being here and I'm sure in other podcasts. So it's really big. Okay, so you're crazy. You decided to leave your career. Your parents are awesome. And your partner, I assumed your partner was there as well. Awesome also. So you decide to what? Become a coach? What do you decide to do?
Yeah, so I'm a functional nutritionist, right? So again, experimentation, right? Nutrition took me so far, changing your diet. But I was like, there's something missing to get that transformation. Like there has to be something missing. So again, I started seeking out tools and again, I started adding more clinical testing to my tool that your conventional doctor doesn't do, whether it's, doing stool testing, not the culturing, food sensitivity testing. hormones, learning about blood chemistry, because I'm like, give me a blood panel and, I'm going to like dive into to see the interconnectedness, because nothing in our body works on its own. Everything is interconnected. And here I was just going to my endocrinologist. That's about it. And what about the other?
One office for every body part.
Exactly. You go keep going. The PCP is like, oh, you can go to, wait for months. And, you said something, I was like, I just don't want to forget. It's not just 20 years ago. Even now, if I tell my endocrinologist, like, taking out gluten has been huge, just
Absolutely not.
the antibodies come down. There are no studies that prove that. She still rolls her eyes. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it's even now, it's even like 2 decades later, it's still, I don't think, I'm hoping at some point it will change, because I tell her what to do, like in terms of, I just dictate, okay, I want this is how I wanted it to change. Can we try this? Can we run my blood test again? But she still rolls her eyes. So yeah, after years of,
So thank you for doing your blood work, though. We're gonna thank her for that. Find
yes.
positive for all interactions.
Yeah, that's one thing. If I ask her, she'll order the blood work for me. So that
Because sometimes people won't do that, so that's great.
no, that's great about her. Yeah. So I was, people were coming to me, what are you doing? It seems to be working. Can you help me? I started, sure, I'll help. I started working with a few clients. But then it just brought so much joy. And that's when, that's what I'm like, my Silicon Valley job, yes, it pays the bills and more. It's what I went to school for. That's what I trained for. So I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but the joy is missing. And I'm like, you live only once. I was nearing 40. You live only once. I want to do something that I want to leave an impact, that when I leave Earth one day, I did something meaningful. And if I can impact one person's life, why not? So that was one of the main, like, let me try this. But still, it wasn't an easy decision. It was very scary. How do you leave a paycheck? But yes, I have to thank my husband. He's been very supportive. He's like, do it. We have the ability, and we have the ability, the safety net to go do it. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And I dove in head first into, because this message, as you said, it needs to be spread. The number of cases of hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's is just going up year after year. There's like 30% increase. And somebody needs to ask why. What's changing in our environment? It's not genetics. It's not just, you may have the genes, sure, but what turned those genes on?
So let's talk about this. So let's get to the part you want to talk about, the intergenerational. Tell us about that.
So, we all, yes, we have, as you said earlier, we have diabetes in the family, or heart disease in the family, or autoimmune condition just runs. The question to ask, why does it run in the family? It's not, oh, I just have it and just, wash your hands off of, I'm going to get it eventually at some point. The question to ask is why. And it could be the same surroundings that we are growing up with, the same food that we're growing up with, and maybe that has followed us from generation to generation, and we are ending up with the same symptoms down the road. So that's the question I always ask, why am I getting this? Question, why was my gallbladder taken out at 20? What happened? Why did my gallbladder stop functioning the way it did? And why did now I know the connection between your gallbladder and your liver and thyroid are so intricately connected. Back then I didn't, but there is a connection. So now every time, that's my message. Hey, if you have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, you got to start paying attention to your other body parts, because they're all working together. Or, you're going in, you have a surgery scheduled for your gallbladder removal. Maybe you might want to check your thyroid, because it might be subclinically low and your doctor is just saying you're normal. That could be playing a role. So it's asking the question of, why are these genes being turned on? These questions.
We're talking about epigenetics, right? We're talking about,
correct.
We could have these genes. Yes, grandma has diabetes. You could have diabetes. Yes, grandma has Hashimoto's. You might be predisposed to Hashimoto's. But there are different genes. There are genes that you're born with, brown eyes, blue eyes, color of your hair, color of your skin. But then there are genes that we can turn on or off. And so what you're saying is, if I may, that grandma and your mom might have it, but it might not just be the genes. It's the fact that they also ate the same things or also exposed to the same factory or the same. So it is the genes plus. And if you can't control the genes, but you can control the plus. And if you can control the plus, you can break that generational, the gene pool that's coming down your way. You could break that trend.
Absolutely. It's our environment and lifestyle that have more power than our genes. And, our parents, my mom had 3 kids. I don't know how much nutritional deficiency was she carrying on when I was in the womb that she passed on, right? Because nobody was really restoring themselves or working on that. So that's what, it's epigenetics, you don't have to recite to the, sort of fact that I have these genes and give up on life. So that's a path I went down, and I'm determined to rewrite my story and many other stories.
Oh my God, I love it so much. What else do you want to tell our audience?
This is a topic I didn't hear about. I had to research, is about, your liver and gallbladder connection to the thyroid. Nobody talks about.
The floor is yours.
We talk a lot about the gut, and I know you have spoken a lot about the gut and how it's related to Hashimoto's, and, eventually that leads to hypothyroidism. But there's such a intricate relationship between your liver and gallbladder. So if I go back to my story, my gallbladder was taken out, right? Because there were stones. Now, why were stones formed? So if I take a step back, so for your thyroid, because this was even before my Hashimoto's diagnosis. So, but if your thyroid needs to work well, you need to have your brain working well. You need to have your liver working well. You need to have your gut working well, and your adrenals as well. All of these organs need to work together like an orchestra for your thyroid to function well. Now, liver, which everyone thinks, okay, just a detox organ, and it does 500 other things for us that nobody talks about. So the liver is one of the hardest working organ. And what does the liver do? It, yes, it detoxes our blood. It metabolizes a lot of the hormones. It creates bile. We'll get to that. That's where bile is created. It also, cholesterol is synthesized there. We'll get back to that. And also when it comes to your thyroid, your inactive thyroid hormone to active thyroid hormone conversion also takes place. So it's doing a ton. And the bile that is produced, what is the main ingredient? Cholesterol. And most gallstones are cholesterol based. So it's cholesterol, it's sodium bicarbonate, it's lecithin, it's bile salts, and water. How many of us are constantly dehydrated?
Sure.
We need water, right? So once a bile is created, again, it's like a witch's potion, right? It has to be the perfect amount of everything. It creates the bile, and then it sends it to its storage unit, the gallbladder, which does more than just storing it. It sits right under your liver, right? Little pear-shaped organ, poor little thing. It's just sitting there, and they just take it all out. But while the bile is sitting there, it thickens. It gets to the right consistency so that when we eat a meal that has healthy fats in it, the body knows to squeeze out the bile. Again, bile performs a ton of other functions. Nothing does one function alone in our body, right? They're very multifaceted organs and in our body. So when food comes in, so the bile squeezes out, and it can break that fat into fatty acids, and the lipase can come in from pancreas to help absorb our fat-soluble vitamins A, D, A, and K. And how many of us are taking supplements and still my D is low? Sure. Or wonder why. If you don't have enough of the right bile flow, supplements will do nothing either. So all of this seems very simple, but it's simple and complicated in its own way. So for the bile now, that T4 and the thyroid hormone, each your trillion cells have a receptor for thyroid hormone. Everyone, when we think about energy, we think of external energy of, getting stuff done, going workout, but your cells require a ton of energy. So the squeezing of the gallbladder to get the bile out requires energy, cellular energy, for the sphincter of Oddi, which is bile duct, and the pancreatic duct to get the bile out. Now, if say you're even subclinically low and you don't have the cellular energy, your bile is not getting squeezed out, what happens to the bile? It keeps backing up.
Get some sludge.
Get sludgy, and then they convert into stones, and then the doctors take it out. And it could have well started with maybe it's your thyroid not functioning optimally, the conversion is not happening. Or perhaps your liver is so overtaxed with detoxing all the toxins, with blood sugar regulation and everything else, the bile is not really forming correctly. There's more cholesterol than other pieces, and it's very thick. So much can happen with just subclinical hypothyroidism and liver not maybe functioning well, and then the gallbladder. So again, the bile is so crucial because we need bile to absorbing the fat-soluble vitamins, but also it helps with clearing out any pathogens that we consume, right? It acts like a microbial.
Yeah.
And
All three of them ultimately are back to nutrition, right? Because if you have fatty liver, if you're eating things that's causing, I mean, we need cholesterol, but then not the right kind of cholesterol. So all of it comes right back down to nutrition. And you're, the synergy between these organs, all of it repairs once we start eating better.
Absolutely. It repairs when we're, and again, for me, for somebody like me who doesn't have a gallbladder now, I do need to rely on some external support because I need to have the bile is still being produced, but it's just dripping into the small duodenum like on its own.
So what are you taking? Are you taking more enzymes, more ox? Are you taking
I take ox bile, for support, especially if I'm eating a fattier meal. So ensure that I have the ability to digest that. And I'll take hydrochloric acid as well. Again, I've done a lot of the testing of, it's not just about eating right, yes. What am I absorbing?
Yeah, for people with post gallbladder removal, they definitely need supplements. Like they're missing a specific part of how it all gets broken down. Yeah, so I'm glad you're surfacing that.
And because even gut, right, bile also plays with conjugating to, binding to a lot of excess estrogen that needs to be pooped out. And if you don't have if you're dysbiosis and not the bile, not that estrogen starts recirculating back. And,
Sure. Not just estrogen, just anything that has to get detoxified, like to conjugate. Yeah, absolutely. It's a big deal.
And bile also plays a critical role in your gut lining as well. I don't know why conventional system doesn't talk about it. And because gut is another place where the T4 to T3 inactive to active thyroid hormone conversion takes place. So that's what took me down this path, because nutrition absolutely is a game changer. Could mean a ton of sense. I had to go deeper.
The important takeaway here from this is that there's many, is that in conventional medicine, we've distilled this idea of the gallbladder as like something that you don't really need. And there's, without question, as we said earlier, sometimes where there's no question, it has to be removed. We remove a lot of body parts when they're full of cancer or fully infected. So it's not just the gallbladder. So outside of that, I think we've oversimplified the need for it. And so we really have normalized, we all know someone whose gallbladder has been removed. We all do. We work with them or they're in our family. So it's crazy. And we've normalized not eating it, but the nuances that you brought in. So even if our audience didn't exactly understand all the nuances that you brought, the nuances of the gallbladder, just in this brief, 10-minute description, is something that's completely missed. And then we wonder why we don't feel well after, right? So I have so many women, right? The gallbladder is removed and then their uterus is removed, right? And then they're like, well, we've run out of body parts to remove, right? So at what point do we actually get to the root cause and start fixing things? How do people reach you?
Yes, they can find me on Instagram. That's one, I'm quite active there. So I didn't have that during my time. So I know there'll be links on the show notes, but @_Div Gupta, or you can go on my website, divyagupta.net as well. That's another way everyone can reach me.
And what is the ideal person that should be reaching out to you? What are they dealing with?
I would say if you have stuff, diseases in your family and you've given up, or you don't want to get diabetes or any autoimmune condition. And I love working with women, from mid 35 to 45, and actually have a lot of younger clients too. If you have an autoimmune condition, you know that it can be reversed. You can put a halt to it so that you don't get another autoimmune condition. So anybody is ready to be curious about their body and ready to give it the time, I would love to work with them.
I love that so much. Divya, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Dr. for having me.
Of course. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of The Medical Disruptor. If this lit a fire in you, good, great. I hope you're agitated. That means you're waking up. Share it with a fellow disruptor, post it, tag it, text it, whatever you have to do. This is how the movement grows. And hey, if you want to wear your disruptor badge loud and proud, head over to drfratlamandre.com, grab the latest merch, my book, and more tools to help you reclaim your health and your power. And if you want me to speak at your next conference, go on that website and find the Contact Us form. Until next time, be a medical disruptor. This is the Medical Disruptor Podcast, and we're just getting started. Keep asking questions, keep asking for more, and keep disrupting.